Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 19 of the Over the Head podcast. Week 1 of PLL is over with. We are moving into week 2, heading into Charlotte. Some great storylines. Former, all-star Will Manny joins the show for an interview. We got some breaking news. Bernhardt coming back to Lacrosse for $10 million or whatever the hell it is the media is running with. And we have some our teams that emerged, the Archers, looking like they're going to make another run. The Cannons look great in week 1. And it was good to see that the PLL is back, Scott. And
yes,
I don't know if you have any opening thoughts or remarks, but let's go.
Yes, let me do some housekeeping first before I get passionate here. One, I went to play a tennis match and I ran into an old player, a kid who played for me in high school, great player actually, and he was out there playing pickleball. A whole different discussion. Get a tennis racket in his hands, and he said, "Oh, I've been listening to Over the Head and you and Hartzell. It's awesome." And it just wanted to remind, like, if you're one of those people and you're enjoying the podcast and you're listening to us, like, subscribe and like and leave reviews and engage. It helps us to be able to keep this going. So we appreciate that. But I just want to say it and shamelessly ask for support so we can keep doing this. And then the second thing is I've moved rooms. So we've got some noise issues in my house, and I have some construction. So I also just want to apologize to the listeners if there's some banging going on in the background. It is what it is. It's gritty on Over the Head. So there's my 2 housekeeping items. Now, you mentioned it. I think obviously, we got to talk about week 1 games. Our texts have been firing, in a way that they haven't been in terms of just your and I's views of certain teams and players, and I'm excited to dive into that. But the storyline this week, and credit to the PLL, they continue to just do things that kind of get the social media world buzzing. But Bernhardt. So first off, Field Yates is is apparently the inside source for Bernhardt. So I love how it's like an NFL insider who's breaking all the news on Bernhardt coming to the PLL. And I think we both had the same reaction. The first report that came out says, he's pursuing $100,000 contracts and he's talking to multiple teams. And I'm like, what? These teams have salary caps. None of them have $100,000 contracts. And if he is going to get $100,000, that's going to have to come from the league in some form of a marketing addendum or something like that. So I think we were both rattled. What the fuck is this? This isn't real. This isn't how this works. And I think we've both kind of heard now as we've done, gone through our backsourcing and our channels that, likely there isn't a team that's offering him 6 figures. I mean, we've openly talked about the financials a lot on here just to try to educate people at, what is it actually like. But there are some teams who have a ton of cap space. The Redwoods were one of them, right? They got rid of Rob Pennell, who would have been a max guy. They've got a bunch of young players who are on kind of rookie minimum, and they had something, 60, 80, something in cap space to offer him. And the Outlaws, I think, were from our understanding, and this isn't verified, but we're kind of second on that list, which that surprises me a little given some of the talent they have. But I guess you maybe still have Kavanaugh and O'Neill on rookie contracts, right? So they might still be kind of well below what they're going to need to be at when they have to re-sign.
Those guys are locked in. I think rookie contracts are locked in for 4. I think it's 4 years. I want to say.
I don't think it's 4. I don't know. I don't know what it is now. But you're right. But it's the same thing you're going to see in other sports. It's a great way to get a championship window because you're paying Brendan O'Neill, who ultimately will be is going to take up a big chunk of your salary cap. You're not having to pay him like that. So from what I've heard and understood, the Outlaws kind of had the second most amount of money to throw at him, and I'm sure looked at his brothers on that team, and ultimately the gap in the money between what the Redwoods could offer and what the Outlaws could offer wasn't big enough. Right. I mean, Is there anything else that you're kind of hearing? And then how do you think he fits in? I mean, what's the, what's the implications of this? It's been 4 years since we've seen him play lacrosse, 3 years.
Yeah. And I think, when the news came out, what pisses me off is he's pursuing 100. He's talking to teams. It's he's not, the coaches are all, shopping for him. He's just all right, let me see what you guys have to offer. And I think we need more context there, right? Is that his agent doing that, which I've heard might be his agent, and he wasn't all tied up in that stuff? We don't know, and I'm not going to speculate to that stuff, but I do know the Bernhardts played on teams with them, and they're a real quiet bunch, and he doesn't seem like a kid that would be doing that. So it'd be interesting to see when more information comes out on that, kind of how those conversations went.
What's your beef with that because you were saying that, but like, what is he supposed to do? Not
I,
shop
I
around?
just
Like, if you were a
yeah
free agent, would you not do the same thing?
yeah, but my whole take is like you got to prove yourself in this league, right? You're coming in right off the rip. He was drafted by the Chaos back in I don't know what year that was. It's 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. And he's a free agent, so like the league. Right, he was drafted by the Chaos, right? My take is he should go to the Chaos, right? He didn't play one game. Chaos should have his rights, and then he should go to the Chaos. And then he didn't play for essentially 2 years, and he's automatically a free agent. He gets to shop around like that. A lot of rookies. You just touched on it, like Brennan O'Neill, Logan Wisnauskas, Pat Cavanaugh, Torton. They're all Torton winners too, and they're locked into minimum or rookie minimum contracts. And I think that's
Yeah.
what 20, whatever that is, 25. Now he gets to jump in and he gets $100,000 or whatever it is, 80, 50. We've been hearing a lot of numbers. I'm not going to speculate on it, but like that kind of, that would piss me off if I was a player. He's coming in to make that. And also what you're going to have to fight on the back end is now that he's getting paid that money, if it is $100,000, you're Brennan O'Neill's, you're, whoever on TJ Malone, guys that have big years are like, hey, you guys paid him $90,000. Now I want 90,000. Pay me $90,000. I did better than he did. So you're setting a standard, like you're asking for that money and you're giving it to him. Now other players are probably going to want that moving forward if they do outperform him. And like the biggest thing with the PLL is what they promoted is like guys who have a big following, right? Marcus Holman has a pretty large following. Looking at his Twitter or his Instagram, he doesn't have a lot of followers. I think he's like 1,000 followers. So it's like also I have more followers than him. I have a bigger name. You need to pay me
Yeah,
more money.
but okay, so that's where I'll chime in though. You're
Yeah.
losing if your followership has anything to do with it. Like that's not a sustainable approach. Like it
Yeah, but
can't
the
be.
league does. The league
I,
does. I
I,
didn't say
I
it's like
get
the
it. I
player.
get it in the form of
Yeah.
a marketing addendum. I get it.
Yeah.
If the league wants to pay you, and look, that wouldn't be different than other leagues. Like if you're valuable socially, then you should be getting bigger sponsorship deals because you have, so I get all that. But as far as
Yeah.
your hit on the salary cap, which is what we've been talking about, what the team's paying him for his play, that's irrelevant. So, but I think you make a great point around like, what has he done to be the $80,000 guy on the Outlaws or the $50,000 guy? Again, we should probably stop just guessing at numbers,
Yeah.
but like that Brennan O'Neill hasn't done or that, Wisnauskas hasn't done yet. So that is an interesting piece. And it's also kind of like, to your point, you basically can get leverage as one of these, and it's not many of these guys, but if you're one of the, best players coming out of college, like if you're TJ Malone, you could, you could go to the league and be like, look, I'll go work in banking, if you guys don't come up with X dollars. And that wouldn't be a good situation for the league, obviously. I mean, he's kind of shown like he got leverage by pursuing football and not playing. And then he came back and got to pick his team. But, I don't have as that was a you know, well articulated point of view by you. And I don't like, I can't push back too hard on it, but I don't have as much of a problem with it. Like you see this in a lot of different pro sports. I mean, there's been NFL players who get drafted by one team and won't go. Like it just is what it is sometimes. Like and I don't know exactly what the bylaws are and the PLL rules that say how long a team has your rights. I mean, this happened with Pat Spencer. The Archers drafted him. We never got him. Like this isn't the first time, and obviously Pat never came back, but I would assume that stuff is written up in some rule book somewhere that says if somebody gets drafted and they don't play, there's probably a time period on how long that player, their rights are still protected by that team. I'm excited to watch him play. I mean, the guy was obviously, he had an incredible college career. He's, he made waves here in Atlanta with the Falcons. He, caught a game-winning touchdown in the preseason. Like it speaks to kind of the type of athlete he is. And he's definitely one of the best athletes in the sport. Now, I don't see him as like, oh, you stick him in. And so here's a take for you. I don't think he's Pat Spencer. Like to me, Pat Spencer would have come into the league and he would have been the best player. I mean,
Pat Spencer's playing. Pat Spencer's like actually playing in the NBA.
Yeah, and again, it's yes, but I mean, like the athleticism they both have. Like I thought Pat Spencer was a better college lacrosse player, and I mean,
if they both race in a straight line, Jared Bernhardt's winning. But to your point, I think I agree with you. Pat Spencer's way more athletic
in the sport of lacrosse. So like, I don't know that Jared is a player who just comes in and is like, I don't like an MVP candidate or something. I think he's very good, but I think it's going to be interesting to see where his skill level's at. I mean, he was coaching at Maryland. He's definitely had the stick in his hands. but the PLL game is different. Like let's see. So that's one. I'm excited to watch him. I think he's good, but I'm not like totally sold that he's like
Can't wait for that
team
matchup.
a team changing player,
Yeah.
right? And then in the context of the Outlaws, I actually here's where I love the fit. So, and we'll go into game by games. We can talk maybe more about the Outlaws, but like he played with Wisnauskas, and they were obviously very, very good together. And I just maybe I'm old school, but I just like give me an X attackman, a righty attackman, and a lefty attackman. Like, and
Yeah.
right now they don't have that really, right? And I just think he's a better fit. I think you put Wisnauskas on the left wing, you put him at X, with Pat, who they both kind of the rotation of the righty wing at X, and you put Brendan O'Neill up at midfield, and you give him, every single dodge that Sam Handley has gotten in his professional lacrosse life should all go directly to Brendan O'Neill. Like Boyle made the comment, like Sam Handley like dodged down the alley and like bodied a guy and then shot and missed cage, and Anish was like, "That's what you want to see from Sam Handley." And Boyle's like, "What? A missed shot?" Because like his shooting percentage is terrible, and it has been his entire pro career. And it's like, yeah, he pops when he dodges because he's big and strong, but at a certain point, like he's not hitting the cage, he's not scoring the ball, and he's getting those dodges running out of the box downhill at people that Brendan O'Neill is so fucking good at. He won MVP of the World Games playing midfield with Team USA. Tom Schreiber, Grant Ament, we've talked about this at length. Like, you can be the best offensive player in the league and be a midfielder. You don't have to be an attackman. With the way the PLL is and subs, if they get him off the field every time, he can take every run but one in each half of a game, right? Coming out of the midfield. And I don't think you're I don't think it's a thing where it's like, oh, now we don't have Brennan on the field. I think it makes them better to have him up at the midfield, tell Handley to kick rocks, and then have an attack that seems, works together from my point of view, with Cav kind of being the mid-range shooter, inside guy, dodging the third defenseman, and then have Bernhardt being your quarterback at X, and the chemistry with Wisnauskas, who I thought played very well. And is just a good player and makes the right play on the left wing. Like, I think it's an improved Outlaws offense with him for sure.
Yeah, and like last piece on this, and we can move on to games. You got to throw him at X. I think he is athletic enough to play out of the midfield, but the talks you've seen everywhere, we don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
He's demanding to play attack. So
I need to know if this is true. Is he going to these coaches and saying, "I have to"? This is also what you were talking about, right? It's his agent saying that, because
his agent. He doesn't talk. If you have an agent, he's not speaking to these teams. His agent is speaking to these teams.
Yeah.
So, and I know, I know the Bernhardts. You've known them. Like, they're not guys that they're very quiet. They're very humble. Like, they come from a humble family. Like, they're not asking for. I don't think they're asking for it, but maybe his agent's trying to get. That's his job. He's trying to get the most out of it. But like, if he's demanding him to play attack, he's going to be at X. Wisnauskas is going to be on the left. Kavanaugh's going to be on the right. Brendan O'Neill has got to come out of the box, right? You've touched on it. Him coming out of the box in the World Games, I think he's actually better coming out of the box, because
I do too. The way he dodges is downhill.
Yeah, get him downhill. Like, make that long pole have to meet him at the midline and get him downhill, and he's going to draw a slide. Like, whereas in the games, like, he just dodges from that wing, and you can really game plan for it. You can double the picks. Like, if he's coming out of the box, like, it's a whole different animal. And then Bernhardt behind the cage, you have to slough down as a defense. Is just going to open up everyone else up top. I'm excited to see it this weekend, and it's going to be a tough matchup for the Chaos. But guess what? They're going to put Jack Rowlett. He's going to take that matchup behind the cage, 100%.
Yeah,
or Jared Newman.
I haven't
think
played
it's Rowlett.
Maybe I've been warming up McNaney at Maryland, but I haven't played a real lacrosse game in 2 years, and I have to score on Blaze. Like, again, let's see. I mean, maybe he's going to come out and prove us wrong, but
he's going to be rusty.
I'm not ready to be like he's one of the top offensive players in the league right off the bat. Does he have the potential to be? Yes. But to your point, like, he definitely has some stuff to prove.
He's going to have some nerves too. All this he's just taken the media of the past week has just been all about him. He's going to have some nerves.
So
he's a gamer.
Bernhardt, to your point, it's just so funny. Like, those three, it's just, this isn't typical. Look, it's one thing to go to Maryland and score some goals every now and then and go on the Falcons and have a good preseason game, but have you ever had RJ in your face with a GoPro on a thing in the middle of a game asking you questions, like
camera guy with a big rig out there? He's like right in front of your face. Like,
let's see how you handle the PLL vortex.
He's gonna be great.
I have more takes on the Outlaws, but we'll get to them in the game. So let's go through game by game. great weekend of first games. The weather, Mother Nature. Will Manny, my weekend MVP, Mother Nature. LVP of the weekend. LLVP was Quint Kesnick's microphone in the ABC game. You couldn't hear, like, this is the ABC game. Quinn's down there in a rain jacket with a microphone that doesn't work. You can't hear any of the interviews. There's too many people on the broadcast. I actually like Quint in that sideline role better than I like Quint in the box. Like I like he's to me, he's kind of fun down there. I think he does a good job. He does that role in football too. I don't know that I need Anish, Kark, and Boyle. And like I'm biased. I mean, again, Kark, friend of the program, like Kark's the college lacrosse guy. Like I just think Boyle, he just knows the pro game so well. And it might be a little bit of like inside lacrosse. Like we're obviously very close to it, and we want to hear like the very educated broadcaster version of this. And maybe Kark is great at kind of inviting new people in. But I just love the way, like that statement that I just said, like Sam Hand, like that's what you want to see out of Hanley. He was one of the best players in college, and Boyle's like a missed shot. Like this guy hadn't hit cage in 2 years. Like it's like
He's on his way
he
out.
understands the pro game in a way that really to me is enjoyable to watch, and I think he does a great job. So that would be my one ask is like I think just Boyle and Niche is a great booth, or just Kark and Niche. But I don't know, like it felt crowded. It felt crowded to me in the they do that, and then Rabel's up there too. Like they always do that on ABC. It's like let's put everybody on camera at once, and like and nobody gets to like talk for more than 30 seconds. So
anyway, they're talking over each other. It's a mess.
Yeah, that was one. But the first game, Atlas Chaos. So let's start with, well, you can go wherever you want with this. For me, I was impressed with the Chaos. Like this had blowout potential. You feel like the Atlas coming into the season from a talent perspective, the success they had last year, Champ Series, like you felt like they were going to know who they are and be really good off the bat. And the Chaos did to them what the Chaos do and made it a low scoring game. And credit to the Atlas, like they kind of found the plays that they needed to make there late in the game, to get the win. But it was just like a right off the bat reminder that like this is the PLL and there's going to be 1-goal games. Like teams just like the gap between, even if you look at the rosters and think the gap's big, the gap between teams is just not as big as you want to believe coming into the games. And the Chaos had, they had opportunities to win this game, but same old Chaos story, just could not find offense to save their life. And Liam Entenmann was really good in cage for the Atlas.
Yeah, I mean, Liam Entenmann's 70% save percentage, right? He's emerging as one of the best goalies in the league. He keeps, obviously, Kevin Trevor Baptiste win every goddamn face-off is a huge. I mean, the Atlas were horrible in the 32 shot clock. They're going to get better in that department, I think.
Yeah.
In that first game, they're kind of feeling stuff out. Week one, feeling some stuff out. But yeah, it's the Chaos. You touched on it already. Like we talked about their offensive midfielders. None of their offensive midfielders are going to produce this year. Like Dobson ain't it. And Cross Ferreira actually stepped up, drew some slides, made some plays. And then the story of the game was Eicher, right? I think he had 5 points. The kid from Army can shoot the shit out of the ball. And then JJ Silstrop, right? I think those two guys.
Yeah, from Denver.
Yeah, Silstrop in the PLL 6s with the Cannons, like got a little touch or got a little taste of it. And he looked good as well. But I think Eicher, Silstrop, and Cross Ferreira, right? And when they have to insert – They got to insert Owen Hiltz. I think he's got to go in there. He's going to cause way more problems than a Dobson's going to create out of the midfield. So they got some things to figure out offensively for sure.
Yeah, I mean their talent offensively is just so underwhelming. It just is. Yeah. But like you could have said the same about the Redwoods, and look what they came out and did. So it's like you can overcome that. But man, I feel bad like in ways for like Rowlett and Blaze and Newman and Ray. Like that defense is just so consistently good year after year. Play great. And obviously Blaze is the engine that drives that, but like it's like a crime that they haven't been able to put. I mean, they won a championship and they did it with those Canadians, but like if this is another season like last season, it just sucks. Like last year they won a playoff game where they scored against you guys 8 goals or something. Yeah. And then they lost a playoff game where they scored 2. Like they just like they gotta find offense. So one thing I was excited to watch was Colsey in the huddle compared to, because I talked about it in my poem, I think in our first episode on here, like towers in those like huddles and drawing up plays in the dirt and like guys kind of looking confused. Like Colsey, to me, it's interesting. Like he talked a lot. Like their whole offensive setup was kind of righties and lefties, and it was set base. Like I heard him coming out of a huddle at a timeout, and it said, um, we're going to go 3 righties, 2 lefties. So, run it over here. And if it's not there, get it to the backside and look at it or whatever. Like he did kind of what we've asked for, which is like not drop a play, but tell them the set, like, here's the personnel, here's the set, here's what to look for, and then let them go out and run it. So I liked what I saw from him. He brought some like good fire and intensity. But I just like talent wise, again, Iker was good. I mean, Rexroad off ball struggled in both games with Manny and with Iker. So something to watch there with the Atlas defense, like figuring out, I would have liked to see Makar on those off ball matchups. I think he would have been a better person to cover both Manny and Iker in those situations. I just feel bad for the Chaos defense.
Another big storyline for the Atlas, which will not be good for them, is Danny Logan left the game in the third quarter, did not come back. Hope he's okay, but if he's out for a significant period of time or that injury is substantial, you just lost arguably the best D midi in the league in between the lines, and that's going to be a problem with them moving forward, because I don't know what their depth is at the D midi position, but Danny Logan's been a consistent, great at the short stick D midi position. So
what one call out, and I know when we'll talk about the Atlas a little bit as we get to the Cannons, but we've talked about the Chaos D middies. You're like, I just don't see it. These guys aren't athletic, and we don't have to pick this apart too much. I think there should be something that should be said about Ray and Glacini, or well, actually, you could put Ray in this as well, but Glacini and Resch on that Chaos D midi, like that defense executes game plans from my perspective better than any team in the league. The Cannons go out and play the Atlas and try to do the same thing. We're going to shut the Slim Reaper, right? Like we're not going to let Xander Dixon catch the ball. Xander Dixon had 4 shots in the first 45 seconds of the game against the Cannons. Like it's one thing to say we're gonna shut off and we're gonna make teams beat us as Dodgers, but then guys get out there and your instincts are to play help defense and to slide in transition and like you just don't see other teams execute that game plan the way that the Chaos do. Like for better or worse, like they will leave Resch on an island and Resch will make them go down the alley. And every now and then he might get scored on. Cospil got one, but Blaze saves those shots time and time again. When Blaze doesn't have to track the ball being passed from one side of the field to the other and make a save, when he just gets to watch a guy dodge into a shot, he's so hard to beat. Blaze is your slide guy in that defense. So they just shut people off. They look away and they say, dodge one-on-one. And even if you get biased, you're going to be dealing with a lift or a back check, and you're going to have to beat Blaze when he's literally been staring at the ball on your stick for 15 seconds before you shoot. And look at the track record. Like teams don't score more than 10 on them very often, or more than 12, which is kind of the number you need in the PLL to win consistently. So I just think like they have guys on that defense that maybe don't pop from a talent or an athleticism standpoint, but the way that they execute Chaos defense and the way that they shut people off and they stick to it and they commit to it, and then Glacini ate another shot in his back, like they just
patting it, jump in the air, and him right
they do the little things well to make, and it Blaze deserves a lot of credit. That doesn't work if you don't have the best goalie maybe of all time in there, but they do, and they deserve some credit for how well they play to it. So keep it moving, right? Enough on that game. We'll talk Atlas a little bit more when we talk about the Cannons. The second game, Redwoods Outlaws. My first note of this game was like Anthony Kelly's got hot coach energy. He's just big, handsome guy over there on the sideline with a towering presence, and I think it should be said that he's just got the look. And all jokes aside on how attractive he is, which I stand by, that's a culture team. The way that the Cannons looked 2 years ago when Brian Holman came in and it was like an exhale, and all of a sudden like that, the Redwoods have the exact same vibe. It's not that impressive of a roster. It's like, but you could just tell like they love playing for him. He talks about culture. Chris Kavanaugh called him an alpha head coach. Like you have a situation there where those guys are clearly believing in each other and in themselves and in what he's selling. And I don't know if they have the talent this season to become a championship team. I mean, maybe they do. I don't think they do. But I'm very excited to watch like how like that energy, that culture turnaround energy. I experienced it on 2015 with the Boston Cannons. It took us to a an overtime semifinal game. We saw it 2 years ago with the Cannons. Like I'm very excited to see how far that can take them because that was impressive. Chris Kavanaugh was impressive, and then the rookies, like guys were just out there playing with belief in themselves.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, right? I think the biggest reason they won that game is just new locker room, new feel, new vibe, and Anthony Kelly brought that in there. Big culture shift. You already touched on it. But yeah, I think if you would have told me Chris Kavanaugh was going to have 4 points in that game, I probably would have told you no.
Five,
But
right? Wasn't he like 4-1?
4-1, yeah, 4-1. And Dylan Malloy also looked good as well. So
He did.
yeah, I wasn't really too hot on the Redwoods preseason, right? We judge the rosters and all that stuff, but yeah, proved me wrong, and they look really good coming out of the gates against a good Outlaw. Like the Outlaws are a good team. Their defense is solid. They have Mike Manley, Jesse Bernhardt, two veteran defensemen, and then you got JT Giles Harris, who's probably one of the best cover guys in the league. So that defense is no slouch to put up those numbers on, and yeah, man, give them all the credit in the world.
So all right, so here's my take. I don't know if the Outlaws are a good team. Like Jesse Bernhardt is a rival of mine forever. He's a legend, but like he looks 5 steps slower than he once was.
He's guarding the third guy though.
3-time Team USA. Like it's not a criticism of his career, but like he's not the Jesse he once was. I would say the same about Mike Manley. So I do wonder a little bit about their age down there on defense. The goalie play was atrocious, really, by both teams in the game.
What are you doing?
But like I looked at the league after this weekend, and to me, it was like the have and have-nots with goalies. Like the Whipsnakes, the Archers, the Cannons, the Atlas, exceptional goalie play. The other team's like really bad. Now they're going to probably insert Logan McNaney. They have to. I mean, McElroy, he was terrible. Like
horrible.
I think he had
40%, somewhere around there.
So McNaney comes in. That's one potential jump. My second beef with this team, Heartsy, and again, they had Bernhardt, but like there's no joy. Like there's nobody on this team that smiles when they play lacrosse. And like, I just like that. It didn't look like they were having fun to me. And like that's kind of the personality of a lot of their star players. Like Wisnowski, O'Neill, and Kavanaugh are all very like monotone, serious dudes. Bernhardt on defense is like that too. Like, and I'm not saying you have to have charisma to be a good team. You don't. But like, I do think you have to have joy when you play the game. And like, they didn't look to me like they were having fun playing the game together out there. And so like, I think Sudan's a great coach. He's had a lot of success in pro lacrosse. I think he does a good job of building teams with a specific personality. Like those Rats teams had that. Like other teams, other people might not like them, but like those Rats guys loved playing together. I'm talking about the Rochester Rattlers, which, was Sudan's team in the MLL. That's what I'm looking for from this team. You add Jared Bernhardt. We talked about it. I mean, by all accounts, great dude, but still, like, who is the culture carrier on that team?
Yeah.
Who is because with the Redwoods, that's what you saw. Smiling, laughing, guys are empowered. Everybody's grabbing the first goal ball for all the rookies, and they're dumping water on Train's head. And like, where is that for the Outlaws? Like, they by the way, they just released Eric Law. So that's they're making room for Bernhardt by releasing Eric Law off of their 25-man roster. That doesn't tell us who's going to bump out of the 19 for him, but he was definitely a guy who, when he joined that team, it seemed like he brought some leadership and some pizzazz that they otherwise didn't have. That's my issue with them, man. The personality of the Denver Outlaws is a plain white wall. It's a brick wall. They're just like so monotone and fucking boring that I don't know. I don't know if they're good.
Do you know who comes out of their game day roster? Sam Hanley. Take him out of the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We talked about it. He can't hit the cage. And, like, you don't need Hanley and O'Neill. Like, you got to get more shots for for what's his name, the other Georgetown kid who lets it fly. Bundy. He never really got going. So, like, put Bundy up there with O'Neill on midfield and let's cook. But, like, and Bundy last year had some moments where he was kind of, like, a little bit of a juice guy. But, like, who's the juice guy? Pat Kavanaugh was the juice guy in college. Like, not really with his personality per se, but with his play. Like, they need a juice guy, and they need, I don't know. I want to see them, like, I don't know. Like, my prescription for the Outlaws is, like, get a nice get like 10 bottles of red wine on Friday night of this week, have a nice Italian dinner together, drink some red wine, smile, laugh, like get O'Neal and Wisnauskas out of their like shells, like, and just loosen up, have some fun. It's
Yep.
lacrosse, you're supposed to have fun. So that's my that's my take on the Outlaws. So next game, Whips Archers. A little bit of a snooze fest, 7-8. Both goalies, Dobson and Krebs, which I think I mentioned this, but like they had an epic championship game in college in their conference championship, Manhattan versus St. Bonaventure, where it was like 6-5 in a conference championship final. Krebs in the cage for Manhattan and Dobby for St. Bonaventure. Like these two actually have a pretty cool little rivalry, and they both were lights out in this game. Is the Whips offense going to work with Rambo and Rob? Is Rambo's a crease guy now?
I mean, man, it didn't look good week one. I mean, they're gonna have to figure it out, right? The first time they got to play together was in camp. It's gonna take some figuring out. Obviously, the coaches are gonna have to really structure that offense to where it will work. But yeah, Rambo at one point was in the interior in the crease, didn't look good in there. Rob behind the cage, right?
I mean, he was in there the whole
ball.
game. It wasn't at one point.
Yeah.
He was the whole fucking game.
Yeah.
Rambo was buried in the crease.
Rob, as we know, likes to carry the ball and dish the rock. And like, yeah, TJ Malone obviously had like 4 or 5 points, but like, yeah, Rambo, what's his game, right? He dodges from behind the cage from the low left wing and goes to the rack, and he just didn't do much.
This
They
is
had
the
0
problem.
points.
You have two all-time great like ball dominant attackmen, and they're the second and third best ball carrying attackman on that team. Like TJ Malone right now is the best attackman on that team. And he's the best dodger and like scoring threat and like dodge to feed, dodge to score threat. So like both Rambo and Rob are having to like adjust their game to be something that they're both capable of doing because they're fucking great lacrosse players, but like it isn't natural. So I thought their midfield looked good. I mean, we didn't get a lot out of Aiden Carroll. I still believe he's going to be a problem this year. Patra didn't have his best day. I still think he's good. Levi didn't do a lot. He was kind of butt dodging. Anderson was like, I like their midfield group. Brad Smith back out there looked great. Like that group, I feel really good about. Brandow scored 2 goals. And this is a situation, Hartsey, where like, I hate to say it, but I think the Whip Snakes are a championship team if they get one of those 2 attackmen out of there. I don't think you can play with both Rambo and Rob. I think you need to go Brandow down at attack. And shit, man, part of me is like, get both of them out of there. Like, go full youth movement. Like, they have so many good young players on that offense. Like, put Levi down there. I don't know. Maybe it's not, but I just don't know that I see. To me, Brandow should be playing down there with Malone, and it should be either Rob or Rambo as kind of your X guy, and TJ's on the lefty wing and Brandow's on the right side. Like that just to me is better balanced, makes more sense, and it makes the midfield less crowded and frees up Patra and Anderson and Brad Smith, who like we've seen have success. So I'm probably overreacting to week one, and I'm sure that those guys can figure it out. But I think that's going to be something to watch. Like how long is Staggs going to stick with that crew before he decides, okay, I've got too much young talent here. Like I got to give somebody else a shot.
Yeah, be interesting to watch.
You have 7 goals, and Brandow had 2 of them. Like,
yeah,
and I'm big on him because I was standing on this take that I thought this
Rob
was
missed a bunch on the doorstep too, but yeah,
no doubt. Like, so yeah, I'm sure they can turn it around. And then the Archers, they didn't have Ryan Ambler, which I thought hurt them, and Granite Mant goes down with a hammy. That's something to watch. But like, what are we gonna say? Like, Dobson's fucking so good. And then you also have like Woodward's playing up top now, and Hasek is fucking crushing people. Like they can match up defensively with anybody. Their D middies are unbelievable. I just like your offense doesn't have a very good day, and you're the Archers, and you still win that game comfortably. So yeah, I mean, the Archers are very good, and they can win games in multiple ways, and it just is what it is. And they're going to have Ambler back, and Connor Fields had a great day, and that's that. I don't have much else to say on the Archers. I think they're going to be good all year.
They are what they are. Yep.
They are what they are. So I think we're close here to our time, Hartsey. We talked to Will Manny. We talked about the Cannons, in that interview. So that'll be coming up now. And, I thought Cannons also a lot like they were the high goal scorer for the weekend, 16 goals for the Cannons. And Asher's dishing the ball. Ryan Drenner had a great game. They had some young players. The kid Braden Hogg made some plays. Will obviously had a play. They're going to add Coulter Maxey to that offense. And then I thought Ethan Raw was great. I thought Owen Grant looked very good. And I think Kirst is putting himself in that conversation with, Dobson, Blaze, Kirst, and Entenmann. Like we've got some serious goalie play right now in this league with those four. And like the year race is going to be awesome between those four. So to me, the Cannons, I come out of this weekend and I look at the Cannons and the Archers as your big winners, as kind of my top two teams with the Redwoods. Like, exciting. Let's see what happens with them. Got anything else to add before we get out of here?
Nothing. Could be an exciting weekend. Obviously, all eyes on Jesse or Jared Bernhardt. That's going to be a big storyline this weekend. So we'll see what happens and how he fits in with those other four attackmen. So someone's got to come out of the midfield.
You guys enjoy the interview with Will Chippy Manny, and we'll see everybody after week 2 next week. All right, welcome our dear friend, everybody's favorite lefty, Will Chippy Manny, coming off a triumphant return to the PLL, 3 goals in the Cannons, 16-12 win this weekend over the Atlas in Albany. Will, long time coming. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
It's good to see you guys. I'm an avid listener. I think every Tuesday, Wednesday morning, Spotify is my opened up alarm listening to you guys. So I'm just happy to be here and appreciate what you guys are doing.
That's
Will,
quite
it was good. Will, it was good to see you remember how to play lacrosse after all those years. A lot of people on social media were, maybe he's washed up, too old, but little did they know you were staying ready, baby. It's good to see.
Yeah, I don't have my stick in my hand every day or anything like that. So, that's just playing the game.
Let's get right into that. So, obviously we know the story, but for anybody who doesn't, you're an all-time great in professional lacrosse. You're in the top 5 or 6 all-time in points. You've been an all-star for a zillion years in a row. 2 years ago, you lead the Whip Snakes at points. Last year, you go to training camp. You can correct me if I have this story wrong, but basically Stags, says we're not going to put you in the 19. We'll keep you on the 25, or I can release you to give you a chance to kind of go find somewhere else to play. You take that option and ultimately, end up sitting at home for most of the summer. You get picked up by the Cannons kind of at the end of the season, but it's kind of too late to insert you into a lineup at that point in the season. So can you just talk about the emotions of sitting out for an entire year, being one of the best players and kind of an MVP type guy your entire career and having to go through that and then getting to come back and kind of have this, you're a player of the game and just have a really good return. What were the emotions behind that?
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. That was how it all went down. I chose to go to the player pool and bet on myself. And, that whole season was just staying ready, right? You never know if somebody's going to get hurt. You saw with the Archers, somebody goes down, they put somebody in for the championship game. So for me, it was just staying ready. And, shit happens in sports. And for me, just looking at it as an opportunity to learn a little bit about myself, feeling fresh, I feel pretty damn good. I had a little bit of an injury in January, but I think for me, it was just managing everything else and just prioritizing what I need to do to stay ready. And for that year, it was watching every single game, in case another team picked me up. What does this team play like? What does this team play like? What do they need? And I think you guys know me pretty well. It's I want to win. I'll do whatever it takes to do that. And I like to think the style of play that I bring to the table makes everyone's jobs a little bit easier. And I'm never trying to do too much. So, for me, I just think getting back on the field on Saturday night for Saturday night lacrosse was definitely emotional. I was a little bit, I had some nerves, I had excitement, and just getting the first check, getting the first touch, getting my first shot, grounded me. And then I think it just kind of let it go from there. So, had a lot of opportunities that, I think I shot 8 shots, which was kind of my goal in that game, and hoping to get 4 or 5 instead of 3 next game or next opportunity that happened. So just felt tremendously grateful to be back on the field, and my teammates were spectacular. And honestly, everyone in the PLL was super supportive, which made me feel pretty damn good.
Yeah. And Will, I experienced something similar, right? I was cut and didn't know what the hell was happening, just staying ready, right? Staying in the gym. Mentally, though, it was a struggle, right? It was you don't know what's going to happen. Is this the last time I'm going to play lacrosse? And I know you I don't know what your thought process was through all that, but just talk a little bit about mentally you get that news, you put yourself in the pool, and then like 1 week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, 4 weeks go by, and you're kind of like, am I going to get picked up here? Kind of talk about that whole process.
Yeah, and on that, thoughts of retirement creep in? Like at any point were you thinking maybe I just hit the links?
to, to both of those, well, I definitely played more golf last summer. That was nice. Got the handicap pretty low, which was nice. But to be honest, Rat, to answer your question first, I'd say it creeped in for a second or two. I'd be like, is this the right? Is this the message or for me to just hang it up? But I just enjoy it too much still of staying ready and competing. And my lifestyle is lacrosse, so everything I have around me allows me to be my best self as an athlete and as a coach and as a player. So I maybe for a second, but then that kind of just went in one out the other. And then Hartsey, to your point, like um, I watch a lot of documentaries. I read, about other athletes, and Steph Curry is one of my favorite athletes. The MJ documentary I rewatched, right, and just kind of going back through those motions of resetting, of what is it going to take? What do I have to do when I do get that opportunity? If I do get that opportunity, and if I don't, you know, just how can I be the best teammate I can be during this time, right? Being on all the Cannons Zooms. I think was a big step forward. Even though I wasn't dressing, I was just there. I was taking notes. When they were here in Utah, I practiced with the guys. So just showing that I was just trying to be in a leadership role there. Where is there other ways I can affect this team and show that I'm being a pro at the highest level, because shit does happen. And you see guys on the Team USA basketball team this past year where they don't play much and then they go win an NBA championship, and all those kinds of things tied back into my mental state of just being the best teammate I can be no matter the circumstance. And that wasn't me on the field, so how can I do it off the field, and just staying connected with the guys. And hopefully that pays off this summer for all the things that I kind of had to go through last year.
And maybe last question kind of on this, because I want to talk about the game and your performance in the game, but I know kind of through the grapevine / talking directly with you, like training camp, maybe this, at least one of the scrimmages probably didn't go as well as you had hoped. Maybe I have to imagine, even though again, we can cover your accolades, there's some like nervousness just from you're back to like fighting for a spot essentially, which you really never had to do, in your career, except for maybe rookie year, right? When we were on the Cannons together then. Well, like, was it like going into that scrimmage and did you feel the need to prove yourself? And then when you get into the game environment, like it just looked so familiar. I mean, I think the first play of the game that you really made was like a ride back, quick restart, hockey assist on a double pass to a goal. It just didn't seem like you were gripping your stick tightly at all. Was there any aspect of that in training camp, or am I off there? And like, do you feel like it's like a weight off your shoulders to now just kind of be like, okay, I'm still that dude, and like you can kind of take whatever comes next in stride?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think you guys know those scrimmages, some people go through the motions with that. Coaches need to see what everyone's got. And I think the easiest way for me to think about the scrimmages in all of training camp was the prior communication with Coach Holman moving into camp, right? Obviously, being in the position I'm in and as a veteran, like there's always going to be younger guys at camp. And, we had 6 or 7 attackmen at camp, and you always have to prove something. You have to show that you're the number one guy there in all different facets of the game. And going into that first scrimmage, I think I did text you, Scott, because you asked how it went. And it's like, I just had 2 routine where I'm wide open on a cut or a pop, and I just like dropped the ball. And I think I was gripping my stick a little bit too tight there. And you try to get over it really quick and be like, I was there. At least I created the opportunity, but that's not good enough at the pro level. You got to execute on at least 50% of those, in my opinion, from inside 8 yards. So it was tough on Monday night. After that scrimmage, I was like, all right, like reset. We got a scrimmage at 9:30 in the morning on Tuesday, and played much better there. And then just moving into the game, I think you guys know the feeling when you're just warming up. It was downpouring rain all day Saturday. We were just embracing the environment and went out early with Marcus and Asher before even warm up started, and just got the sticks wet. Just got into the environment a little bit, and during warm ups, once you poke a couple and you're feeling good, I just felt back to normal of like, I'm just playing a lacrosse game, been doing this for 13 years. And like I said, once you get your first touch in the game, you get your first sprint to the box for a sub, you take your first shot. I'm just like, all right, this is like clockwork, and just go have a shitload of fun. That was my mentality. And in the box, when we were doing our substitution patterns, I was really focused on like breathing and staying present and just like not overdoing it with energy and screaming and just being like over hyped. I was just trying to be calm, cool, collected, and just know what my role was, which was clearly defined by our coaching staff, which made it a lot easier too.
Well, let's back up there, Will. On the energy piece, the one goal you scored, you and Rexroad, what'd you get? What were you guys talking about? Were you guys talking about golf handicaps? What were you guys talking about there?
I think we need to throw in, so people know you as like the bunk bed boys or Willie Buckets, but the real nickname in the inner circle here is Chippy, right? It's Will Chippy Manny. And for people who don't know, like, that's because you're fucking chippy. You got a chip on your shoulder. It's what's driven you your entire life, being undersized, ending up at a place like UMass, obviously Tewaaraton finalists. And I hear you on the Zen, and that, I think speaks to the wisdom, and you're a veteran, but like, you were the juice in that game. The game shifted when you scored the first goal and you fucking flexed and, got fired up. And then I think it was the second goal and you're tapping. Rexroad is huge, by the way. That guy is jacked, and you're fucking, you're sunning him in that situation. Like, that felt like to the viewer sitting at home, Will, that felt like a release of 18 months of pent up chippiness. I mean, and it looked like it completely changed the tone of the game for your team. Like, you could see how excited everybody else was. I wanted to ask about that too. Is there, what's that moment like? You're not generally one to kind of like talk shit, but you went right at him there. I mean, what was kind of the motivation for that?
Yeah. So the first one, when Marcus fed me, that was a year plus of energy, just being like, all right, now we roll. Now the floodgates open, like shoot or shoot kind of thing. And to be honest, this is actually funny to talk about the second one, because the second one happened about like a minute later when Hager shoots the ball off the crossbar and I handled it and just put it right back in. To be honest, I took that shot and I saw Rexroad coming across and like took a a little pop there and didn't know what was going to happen after I shot it, but I was just so fired up. I honestly, I don't know who was on the inside with me on the Cannons team, but I went to turn and like go like, let's go to that person on my team. And Rexroad was actually right in front of me and like stopped. So it went right to his face. And then he said something to me, you little shit, or something like that. And I'm just, after that, I was just like, all right, get out of the way. Like, let me go to my teammates. But so in real time, I wasn't technically doing that at him. I was actually trying to look at my teammate. He happened to just be there, and you guys know it's sport, and I just got fired up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fight somebody. It's talk your shit.
That would be ill-advised, I think, with him. Unfortunately,
no, I'm not fighting anybody.
ChatGPT and make a cartoon of like a giant Will Manny flexing on Rexroad. We'll get that out on the OTH internet stuff here.
Awesome.
Will, looking ahead, man, obviously big matchup this week versus Archers, a team you spent a lot of time with and Rat spent a lot of time with. So I know you guys are looking ahead into this game. ABC, we're on prime time this weekend. What are you looking forward to this weekend, and what are the Cannons have in store heading into week 2?
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. We're heading to Charlotte, and we have Cannons film tonight and Thursday night. Tonight we'll kind of recap Atlas and just watch, good things to work on, and then Thursday we'll dive more into the Archers scout. They're a great team. They're back-to-back champs. Coach Resch and Coach Bates do a great job with those guys. I think for us, it's you look at our team. We scored 16 goals. We did well in between the lines. I think for our offense, it's just being a little bit more deliberate of, using the clock a little bit, making them slide recover. And if they, if they end up not sliding, how can we manage our offense, get guys in the right spots? And Coach Jernsted's been using aces in their places, right? Like, let's get guys in the right place on the field to make the right plays. I think for us, it's early season like this. It's just play good lacrosse, right? Make the other team work. Don't try to be outside of our comfort zone. And I think you look at Asher in that first game, like that guy just stayed calm, cool, collected, let the game come to him. He had three or four assists, and didn't score, but made such a big impact, and that allows other guys to move off ball. And you obviously saw Drenz had two of those assists from Asher, doing those things. So I think everyone was just really comfortable with what their role definition was on the offensive end. And I'm just going to just play better this week. I think that's all we got to see, is what are they doing game plan wise, and just put aces in their places and put the ball in the net. And as Adam Gittiman has been saying, put the sphere in the square. So I think it's just what's game 2 version of the Cannons look like.
Cool. So, Will, maybe last question here, and we just kind of love asking this to our guests, but you've played Cannons, New York Lizards, obviously Archers, Whipsnakes for a year. Now you're back with the Cannons. On top of that, mention your career at UMass. I mean, you had a crazy high school team at St. Anthony's. Like, who are one or two guys that stand out to you as teammates over the course of your career that, like, maybe, again, not Marcus Holman, like maybe aren't the obvious choice, but that were great players and, guys you loved playing with that maybe didn't get the shine that you felt like they deserved?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. And I'll start it with, I was very fortunate to play with both of you guys, which helped a lot in transition, right? I think
who was better?
Outside, I got a good answer. Outside trailer shots, Heartsy. Inside snake cuts, Rat.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
No,
Okay.
it's you're dancing around it, but that's fine. Carry on.
Yeah. You guys, I love it.
We'll have you on for another podcast. We'll grill you, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. Once I'm done playing, we could say all the stuff we want. I would say, and this is one I actually, getting a text from him after the game meant a lot. I think he had shine because he was one of the best players of all time. But I think, our first 2 years in the pros, like playing with Ryan Boyle, talking about, find what your role is and do the best of your ability, right? At UMass, I played X attack, had the ball in my hand. I was going one-on-one. I was distributing, winning one-on-one matchups. And when I go to the Cannons, Ryan Boyle's there. So I'm clearly not playing X attack for the Cannons in my first year. And I know who Ryan Boyle was. I loved his game, and I know he's one of the best feeders of all time. So I had to turn into more of a lefty wing shooter, off ball. Still had to dodge a little bit too, but I think a guy like Ryan Boyle was one of the best teammates I can have, because him, Rat, like, and Heartsy, you do too. Like, he didn't take shit. Like, I heard you talk about him on an episode or two ago. Like, he was all business when we got to the games and practices, and that just showed how serious and how good you can be if you talk to your teammates like that and develop that trust and leadership. So I would go at Ryan Boyle. And I think another guy that, going when I went to the Lizards, one of my role models in Joe Walters, a guy that, plays the lefty wing. I changed numbers going to the Lizards because Joe Walters was wearing number 1. And a guy like that, just operating with him, learning more 2-man game aspects. And a guy that I've watched his highlights and love watching at the University of Maryland, getting to play with a guy like that too, really allowed me to just recognize where I am in my career. Like, being able to play with these guys at the pro level is just such a game changer. And being able to learn from him, he wanted to learn from me. That was the other great thing about Joe, was just like, hey, if you do this, what do you want me to do? Like, our conversations in the locker room and throughout a game were always really special when I was on the Lizards. So I would say those two guys. But then, two random ones, I'd say Mike Stone and Kevin Buchanan on both of those teams were just two guys that continued the offense, kicked the ball through X, were scat back guys that just did everything right at full speed. And you can relate those guys now to a guy like John Donville and Ryan Drenner, like those guys that just fill the void of shit that people don't want to do all the time. And that's why they're great pros. So I know that was long-winded, but I think I've got to play over 13 years, so many guys that made an impact on me as a player and as a person. But when you watch the game, they're not the guys that score the between the legs goals and do all that shit. It's guys that get the hockey assists and do the off-ball cuts and set good screens that really make the magic work on the offensive end.
There you go. You hear that, kids? Make the right play. That's good stuff. Well, thank you for joining us. Obviously, we love you. And we'll be watching, and it was thanks for giving us that moment, man. It was for me. It was kind of the moment of the weekend to watch what you did out there. It was really cool to see. So congratulations.
I appreciate you guys.
You know who Scott's taking this weekend? Look at his hat.
Yeah, I mean, this was the whole conversation we had coming in. You'll see. You'll cross over. You'll come to the other side, and you realize, like, well, yeah, I got some good friends on some different teams, but I only played for one. So
he retired in Archer. He retired in Archer. I don't hate it.
The only PLL team I played for. I did play for the Cannons too, but that was MLL Cannons. It just feels different for some reason. But anyway, I'm rooting for you always.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, see you, buddy.
See you guys.